Hello and welcome to Testimony Time. Now I'm joined today by the founder and author of Daughter Arise. She goes by the name of Yvonne Ellis, and I want to challenge you to keep watching because this testimony is definitely going to bless you. So Yvonne, welcome to the programme.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm really honoured to be here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to talking.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
Now your story is one that I know is going to touch a lot of people, women in particular, and maybe even men. But you wrote a book called Daughter Arise, and it talks about a journey from devastation to restoration. So what was your childhood like, and what happened when you were younger?
My childhood started off pretty normal enough. I grew up with my mum and dad and my brother and sister. We lived on Winstanley Estate in Battersea, and our childhood was pretty normal enough. When I was about 9 years old, that's when my childhood started to change. My father first started to sexually abuse me at 9 years old. And basically, it just continued for the next 5 years.
What was it like? Picture yourself, you're a 9-year-old and this thing has all of a sudden, out of nowhere, happened to you. What was it like dealing with that kind of tragedy?
To be honest with you, it just really left me devastated. I went from being just an average girl dealing with whatever life had brought my way to a girl that was filled with hate, was depressed, fearful, felt ashamed. I went from being a child that would run around in her underwear, carefree, to a child that was quite secretive, wanting always to close doors, always wanting to cover up. It was really quite hard. The first time my father abused me I was at home with him by myself. I lied to get the day off school, and I thought my mum would stay home with me, but she didn't. She had to go to work. My dad offered to stay home, and I was downstairs watching TV, and my dad called me upstairs to the bedroom, and he was in the bed naked, and he told me to get into the bed, and he basically assaulted me.
That's just hearing your story, and obviously I've read your book as well, so just hearing that just brings shivers. It's horrible. It's terrible. How did you handle that? Because, did you tell anyone what was happening, or did you keep it to yourself? How did you deal with that?
I didn't have a name for what he was doing. I mean, probably if you compared it to today's society, to back in the 80s when I was growing up, you didn't really know about sex or sexual abuse or anything like that. All I knew was in my spirit, in my heart, that something terrible had happened, but I didn't have the words to be able to convey to anybody what he had done. I didn't have a name for it. It wasn't till 5 years later that I did get that name, but during the whole course of that time, how I dealt with it was it manifested itself in my behaviour. I'd steal from my parents. I was very angry, so I'd get into fights and things like that. You know, it just manifested itself. I became quite kind of depressed, I would say, without knowing at the time that it was depression. The first time I tried to take my own life was at 10 years old. And even then, you know, taking 3 paracetamol is not taking your own life, but at the time I thought taking more than one was. I just felt this blackness over me. I felt in despair, and I just didn't know how to deal with it.
What about your siblings? Were they aware of what was going on? Did anyone else actually know?
Only afterwards. Not during the time, but I think afterwards they had said to me that they remembered my dad taking me out of the house, because what happened is that after the first time, it happened at 9 years old, my father would come into the bathroom every night and indecently assault me, examine me in my intimate places every night. And then shortly after that again, what happened is that he would take me out of the house on Friday and Saturday nights to my nan's house. He would, I used to try and manipulate the situation. I tried to go to bed early, thinking that that would make a difference. But he would come in 11, 12 o'clock at night, wake me up, tell me to get on my coat. I'd have to stay in my nightdress. Just get on my shoes and my coat. I then would have to wait under the stairs in our living room for him to do whatever he had to do upstairs. And then he would come downstairs, get me from under the living room stairs, and then we'd make our way round to my nan's house. She used to live across the estate.
Where was your mum at this time? Not that I'm trying to blame her at all, but what was she thinking? Was she aware of all this?
I believe my mum was aware of it. As a matter of fact, a statement that she made later on during my time in care showed me that she did know what was going on. She said to me it was normal for all Jamaican fathers. When I questioned her and I said to her, when he was coming in the bathroom and intimately checking me, she's told me it was normal for Jamaican fathers to do that to their children. And also as well, during the time growing up in the house, the bathroom was opposite her bedroom. And most evenings my mum would be in the bedroom watching the news or whatever. So she would see him. It was not impossible for her to see that he was coming into the bathroom and intimately checking me and coming back out for 5 days a week.
Wow. Now, what role did Childline play in your life? Because I know at some point you contacted Childline, and how did that change things?
Wow, Childline gave me the words, finally gave me the words to be able to convey what was happening to me at home. Basically what happened is that it'd been going on for 5 years up until that point, and back in about 1988, I think it was, Childline was starting to go around the schools raising awareness of abuse. So they came to my class and they spoke to all the classes, but when she came into my class, she spoke about what abuse was, gave examples, what constitutes as abuse. And it was then, in that classroom, I finally had a name for what my dad was doing to me. I don't know, I dreamt about that moment for so long, thinking, that all of a sudden I'd be able to blurt it out. But it didn't really happen like that. It happened over the course of a couple of days. But they gave me the words to be able to speak out.
And when you eventually spoke out, was that when you were taken into care?
No, what happened is that a few days before, I'd ran away from home. Call it running away again, but I ran across to my friend's house. But she lived across another estate. But literally, I just ran out the house 9 o'clock at night, and I just ran to her house, and I told my friend at the time what was happening to me. In terms of I'd been having problems at home, but I couldn't tell her about the abuse, because even up until that point, I still didn't have a name. When we went to walk through the park a couple of days later, I told her about the Childline visit, and I told her my father was sexually abusing me. She then told her mum,